Welcome to the Mortgage and Mindset in Minutes podcast, and I'm your host, Tiffany Rose, where you'll get a little on mortgage and a lot on mindset. Hey, Beau, I'm so happy that you're back with us today. So we talk on and off all the time with our masterminds and all that cool stuff, but really wanted to dig in today on what you're doing to educate. You know how I'm doing my coaching, and it's really like educating and figuring out ways to be innovative and be a marketer. That's a backbone of a successful business, especially in today's world. So gone are the days of like cold calling and doing all those things to get business. So what I wanted you to talk about today is you're a wealth of information on the way that you help customers find you and the types of leads you get and how. So just give me like a little bit of a summary on what Emerge. You're the president of Emerge. Tell me what that does, and then I'm going to ask you some really cool stuff on how you're generating business.
Sure. So Emerge Lending Group is basically, we provide capital through banks, credit unions, private debt funds, SBA loan programs. We don't do any residential loans, so I don't do any owner occupied. It's all for investors or business owners and entrepreneurs. So I focus in those niches. And so we might help somebody buy a franchise and start a franchise and grow that with SBA financing. We might help a new investor flip their first property with fix and flip funding, and then teach them how to burr the property, refinance, pull their money back out, and then keep it into a long-term DSCR loan. So really, we help people create wealth through real estate and business acquisition and expansion.
I love it. And you're killing it because you're popping up left and right everywhere. And on YouTube, I mean, you figured out ways to grow your business without having to do all the old school ways, that's what I want to teach my loan originators. That I want to change the industry and get people to like kind of cross over into, so to speak, your world on the plethora of ways that you can market yourself and get people to find you and know how they have the opportunities to work with you. We have in our lending, world, such an old school way of thinking still. Even just posting something on social media is not going to get someone to jump at the chance to, I can't wait to work with Beau or Tiff because they posted a reel. You really have to figure out ways to educate and serve and market yourself that way. And it's so important because people are looking for information, and that's what's going to connect you with the right fit to help them, because there's no way that we can just sell without having this impact in serving our customers and our clients. So I know that you're out there helping and making a positive impact, but you found a way, several ways, to get to those people and attract that business. So can you just give me like maybe two or three? Let's start with one of them that I love that you do about your podcast and how you're getting leads that way.
Sure. So my podcast gives me about 5 to 7 new leads booked on my calendar every single day, Monday through Friday. And so what we do, it's a podcast on audio, but what we really specialize, it's a podcast show on YouTube, because YouTube is the second largest search engine. Okay. And then we do long form interviews where we interview about entrepreneurial things, business owners, tax strategists, but we also do short specific content in niches. So riches are in the niches. So if I wanted to rank a video for, what is the best DSCR loan for a short-term rental property, right? I rank that video. I show up on the first page of YouTube, which is a powerful search engine. And then that leads to people that they have intent. Somebody is searching for an answer, and I answer specific questions. That then converts to a Calendly appointment. There's in the description of the YouTube video, and I book on my calendar. Right. And so I plant seeds. I know where to plant the seeds. And over time, as I water them, really, you don't really have to water them. It's basically, right, I'm cloning myself. Every video I do, I clone myself. So now I have all these mini Beaus out there bringing in deals, bringing in opportunities. And you never know who you're going to meet. I've met some really cool high level people. You go, I can't believe this guy's calling me. This guy's got a net worth of 60 million bucks. But you know what? He needs money. And that's what we sell as mortgage lenders. We sell money. And then why do people come to me? Is because they relate to what I'm saying on camera. They feel like they know me, and they go, if I call Beau or I book an appointment with Beau, he's going to give me some guidance, whether I'm ready now, meaning I don't have a deal, but I'm willing to take these 15-minute appointments, even with people that don't have a deal right now, and they need some answers. They need some help. And over time, that equates to hundreds of appointments. Then you put them in your CRM, you put them in your newsletter. They then you also give them CTAs, calls to action. Call to action. Hey, do you want to come to my meetup? Hey, do you want to come to this virtual meetup on owning franchises, which we're doing on Wednesday, right? All these things I'm inviting to share knowledge with my Rolodex of people. Rolodex, we don't use that word anymore, but CRM, okay? So by having knowledge and people of being a resource to people out there and having success stories, right? Success, the biggest thing you can do is get a testimonial of a borrower or somebody you've helped. You know, like, hey, go to Beau because Beau helped me get 5 Airbnb properties. Now I'm making $70,000 a month in gross revenue. I didn't have any knowledge before that. And then he introduced me to a cost segregation company. And then I wrote off 200,000 against my income because, all these things, right? So that's where I want to be, is the center of influence where I can give these people good advice. And that's in conjunction with this online presence, you do an in-person presence too, because some people want to actually touch and feel Beau.
Yeah.
And so,
Those
right, then you
people.
try to do some in-person events. But yeah, YouTube is an amazing strategy. Video content, people want to, 50% of all podcasts now are watched on YouTube. They're not actually watched, they're listened to on YouTube. So
Yeah.
that's a huge number. The podcasting industry is like a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and it just really is getting started right now. So if you don't have a podcast, you're missing the boat.
Absolutely. And everything you're saying, there's an undertone of there's technology involved in all this. It's not just buy my thing, or people hear you talking and they see your name on a podcast and they're like, hell yeah, I'm gonna call Beau and I'm gonna know exactly what he does and how he can help me. You're using all of these tools, keyword searches, and the technology you're putting on the YouTube platform, and you're having people find you, and that's how you're generating the leads. It's not just that, what you just said, you're not just on the podcast platform and people just find you. You're integrating it, you're putting on YouTube, you're using the summary, you're putting the timestamps too, right? So when somebody, you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so when you put timestamps in YouTube description, there's all these things you can do to be found, right? Like if you just upload your video and put a crappy thumbnail, that's not going to work. Thumbnail's important, the title, DSCR loans for short-term rental investors, whatever.
Yeah.
That's important. The description is important. The CTA, the call to action in the description, and then you use technology to do timestamps so that in minute 5, Beau talks about the advantages of a DSCR loan versus a conventional loan, right? And those are keyword optimized too. And then that helps in the algorithms of search to be found. So the more you can put out like that is important. And then also the looping, like in my video, I said, hey, if you like this video and you want to learn more about short-term rental investing, click on this video. You keep them engaged. And then over time, they're like, man, this guy puts out great content. Like everything he's talking about is cool. And sometimes there's some stuff I don't like, but all in all, they subscribe, they get notified when a new video comes out. And then it all starts from some random person searching how to get an SBA loan on a self-storage facility. And then they become my client and my friend and, a business contact. The lifetime value of that client, right? The lifetime value of that client could be 6 figures, just one client, right? How many times we do that deal? First deal I'm doing today, for example, good old Justin wants to buy this and build 100,000 square feet of self-storage. Total project cost is $13 million, right? And so this commission here, if I were to close it, would be $50,000. This one deal would be $50,000 in my pocket. So now, it might fall out. He might not get the offer accepted. It might not happen. It's not easy, but the point is he found my information on YouTube or on my audio version podcast or from a reel. I'm not sure. I didn't ask him. And this can equate to $50,000. So how many of these videos can you put out with good relevant content? And also, I should say, you have to be an expert in whatever you're doing, or at least have the niche. So if I was a residential mortgage broker, which I used to be, what would I be doing? I would be doing the same. I would be talking about self-employed stated income loans. I'd be talking about DSCR loans, like the advantages of DSCR loans for real estate investors. You don't have to show your income docs. You can't qualify from a DTI standpoint. You create content around that. Now you're becoming an expert at that. Or house hacking. Hey, how do you do your first house hack? Let me show you how to create wealth through home ownership. And you don't have to buy a rental property. we're going to get you a fourplex and we're going to use FHA financing. You're going to live in it. So I think our job as real estate mortgage people is to educate more, right? Because you're creating legacy not just for yourself, but you're creating legacy for them. Because I'm helping this borrower buy their first property, their first fourplex, which is they're going to have no payment due because the three other people are covering their mortgage. Plus, they're going to be netting $2,500 a month of cash flow, right, on their first deal. And then you give them a plan. Hey, let's take that $2,500. Let's save it for a year. Let's put it into something that create earns interest. Now we're going to have $30,000 at the end of the year, 25,000, whatever that is. Let's use that and buy another property, or we'll save for another year, and then we're going to move out of that property. We become financial planners of real estate, right? Because as you know, it's hard to save money. The only way I've ever been able to make money is really owning real estate, right? Because that $1 million property goes up 4 or 5% a year. That's $50,000 I'm adding to my net worth each year. Then I'm harvesting that crop. And so as a mortgage planner, we got to teach people these strategies. Hey, maybe you should buy a second home if you use it 14 days out of the year, but you can also, when you're not using it, you can run it as a short-term rental or whatever, right? We're helping these people create massive wealth, more so than maybe a financial planner would be doing, because
that's
you can use leverage.
absolutely. And I've talked to so many financial advisors that, of course, when they say, oh, I inherited money or I have this amount, they're like, invest it, start an IRA, do this. No, you put it in real estate. That's why financial advisors, I mean, not some, not all, but they've steered me in the wrong direction before, because I did some math on one of my IRAs of the amount I put in monthly over the 10-year span, and the balance has not grown hardly any because of so many ups and downs in the market. But then you have my real estate properties that I bought my primary in 2017 for 1.5 million. It's worth 3 million now. I mean, in what, 5 years now? So what you were just saying about creating that wealth through real estate, it's so important for people to actually like hone in and listen to that. I have a lot of clients that get hung up on, well, if I do, no money down, then the rate's higher, or just call me in 90 days when I save 20 grand. You're not going to save, if you don't already have 20 grand, nothing's going to change. So to 90 days from now, you'll probably have even less than what you have in your bank account now with that mentality. So for people listening that, are on the fence and they're renting, the best way to build your wealth is by buying real estate and finding ways, like finding people like Beau that's, can give you options as an investor, and, using other people's money, and however you need to scrape and pull the money together. It's so, so important, right?
Yeah, and like if you have like a retirement account, there's something, and I'm not an expert in this. It's a Rob's rollover. You can essentially roll that into, and you can use that money to go out and buy an existing business or start a franchise, right? Like it's not making you anything. What if you took that 100 grand and you started like a home service based franchise business, or a healthcare, assisted living care franchise, and now that thing is doing 800 or $1 million of gross revenue, it's net you 200 grand a year, and you're running it from your home, because like you got to figure out how you can get these revenue streams, and that's the real goal. And so even like W-2 employees, everybody should be thinking, doesn't matter if you want to stay, you love your job in tech sales or whatever, you should be looking at like, how do I replace this W-2 eventually? Because let's face it, it's not getting any cheaper to live. And if you want to live a good life, you need money, and money is, and having cash flow is the most important thing, right? Because if we have a bad month, if I don't make any money in my loan business this month because 5 deals fell out or go, what do I have? So we have to have other streams of income, right? Because you always want that constant flow of money coming to you. So even mortgage brokers or whoever is listening to this or watching this in the future, what can you do to have other streams of income coming in, right?
Yeah.
And then what can you do in your business to maximize the results? And so if I put out these videos, all I'm really doing is taking a little bit of my time and using a virtual assistant to edit the video, and that's all the amount of cost that goes into it. So it's very little cost with high return. If I were to do pay-per-click or whatever, and it works, a lot of people, that's an easier way to scale things. But if you just do organic content creation and you put it and you keyword optimize it and you put it in the right location, over time that's gonna trickle into like tons of leads. Like who doesn't want 5 to 7 calendar appointments on their calendar every day? And like I could like probably do more if I open up my calendar more. But at some point, it's a work life thing, and people want me, and I can't have an assistant taking the call because sometimes you have to like pick up some high level things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It is amazing. And I love talking about this stuff. And this is what I teach in my courses now. But to the average person, entrepreneur that's like, yeah, I want to be like Beau, I want to get out there, I want to show up first on YouTube with keyword searches and optimizations and all that. It's a little mind blowing, but I think just to like nut it down to the basics, I used to make this mistake where I post an ad and I'd say, hey, Tiffany with Guild Mortgage and Team Tiffany Rose, apply for a loan today versus here's the call to action, here's the hook, here's the story, here's feel felt found, all these techniques, putting the right hashtags, running the right ads, targeting, repurposing correctly. There's two worlds to using social media. You do it incorrectly where it's buy my thing, apply today, or call me with questions, versus doing all the stuff that you're talking about and that I'm teaching. Two completely different worlds. You can do the same thing with video the wrong way or the right way. You said call to action a couple times in there. I don't think people even realize that a call to action needs to be there, and that it doesn't always have to be apply for a loan today. It could be drop a house emoji if you plan to blah, 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 or what can you do in today's market to blah, blah, blah. Anything at the end, and having the right hooks and always being out there educating people. The times have changed. I think it was oh my gosh, what was that movie? Boiler Room, I think. It was like, sell me this pen right now. That used to be like, well, it's got this feature and this feature. Now the way of selling is serving. It's like, well, tell me why you want this pen. Tell me what it means to you. What would you be able to do if you had this pen? Completely different worlds. And you've transitioned into this world where you know how to generate the leads, not just because you're handsome and smart and all these things. You also have all these other technical tactics to blow up your calendar and generate leads. And you also use something that you use Meetup, right? So can you tell the audience a little bit about that and how you generate business that way or connect people?
Sure. So I think what you really want to do, and I'm kind of painting the picture here, is where is your target audience? So years back, I said, well, I make loans to real estate investors. So why don't I create a meetup group? Go to meetup.com for real estate investors, right? And so now I have 3,000 people in those meetup groups on meetup.com, right? That I can advertise to. I can invite them to events. I'm not always trying to sell them. A lot of times I'm giving them like huge value. I'm bringing in great speakers, and it's
Always.
not all about always the loan, but because of that, I have the ability to plant seeds whenever I want. So these 3,000 people will get some messages. Oh, by the way, here's a recently funded deal. I'll write a what we call a tombstone, right? Like just take what you're doing. Hey, I closed this loan, and I'm telling the story. Hey, this was a real estate investor in Texas. You know, he needed to refi. His hard money loan was at 12%. It was coming due. This is what I did. Da, da, da. That's my tombstone. That's a call to action. So I could plant those seeds in the meetup. So you can really, the first step is like reverse engineer, like what you want to be known for. What do you want to be known for? What's your niche? What's your niche? Whether that's somebody that specializes in work with VA loans, or maybe you become the bad ass 203k specialist because nobody knows how to do 203ks in the mortgage world, right? Maybe that's your gift, and all you talk about is 203k on your social presence. 203k, hey, let's get your first, we're going to find a fixer upper. The market's a little soft. You can get your offers accepted. We fix up this duplex. You live in one side, you live it. Like that could be your story that creates thousands of loan opportunities, or hundreds at least, right? Like, because if you go onto YouTube, somebody came to me and said, hey, I want to build a fourplex and use the FHA loan. And I'm like, I didn't even know there was a construction loan one-time close for fourplexes. I mean, there's probably a very minute group that know how to actually close those deals. So maybe that's you. Maybe you're not getting any leads, or maybe you become the king or queen of DSCR loans, right? Like, like if you're a broker, hey, I'm going to take it to, this lender. This is why they're good, and then you systemize the process of closing those deals, right? Or maybe you become the king of doing luxury home purchases, like for 3 or 4 million when they can't prove income. A lot of those big business people have millions of dollars, but they can't get a conventional loan. Well, maybe you're that luxury person that can do these $5 million big, bank statement type deals. So carve out what you want to be known for, and then you create the plan of like, Okay, where am I going to find, where am I going to plant seeds that those people are going to find? And
Alex
that's what the,
Hormozy says, don't get
yeah,
niche slapped.
yeah.
So it's true. If you try to be an expert at everything or a jack of all trades, master at none, you're going to confuse your audience, and a confused mind doesn't buy. And when you're just out there talking about too many different things and credit repair this and FHA this, and you got to niche it down and become the absolute expert, exactly what you're saying. And that's how you're going to generate the business and make a positive impact on the community and the world that you're in, whether it's loans or real estate or any kind of entrepreneur where you have to sell. You've got to serve and you've got to educate, and you have to niche it down and become the absolute, what you just said, king and queen of whatever it is that you want to talk about. And pick something you're passionate about. Don't pick something you hate doing. If you hate dealing with people with bad credit, don't be your niche and make your niche credit repair. Pick something else that's fun, luxury real estate or something. So you just touched on 3 different ways to generate leads and grow your business by educating. So you got your podcast, you do your meetup, and you've grown that, and you've talked about how to get found in the searches and how to have like that intent and then kind of reverse engineer it. So my podcast wouldn't be taught mortgage and mindset in minutes if I didn't talk about the mindset piece. Why is it that people don't jump on this opportunity? If it's just creating video, making sure there's a call to action, and putting some keywords in, what the heck is stopping people from doing it?
Because a lot of people are content where they're at and they have a fear. So like they're like, okay, well, I'm cool making my 6 figures. I make 100 grand, and my business is always $100,000 business, give or take, right? Like, and I can live okay. But you have to have that burning desire that there's, more. Like, what do you aspire to be like? And you finally have to just say, hey, listen, I want to be, I don't want to leave this earth being being mediocre, right? Like,
Boy,
at 45 years old, I have that realization. And that's why I hired a coach, actually. It was because I felt like I was not fulfilling my destiny, right? So, like, if you don't have that burning desire, it's okay. Then maybe you don't need to worry about it. Maybe this isn't for you. But if you want to up level your life, right? A lot of it comes from a financial position. It's money doesn't do everything for you. It doesn't make you more happy, but gives you the time freedom. Like right now, I look and I go, okay, I'm 45 now. At 55 years old, or actually, I'm doing like a 5-year plan, because like at 50 years old, what do you want your life to be? And then if I kept doing what I was doing for the last 20 years, I'm not going to get the results, right? Because I got stuck in that. Okay, I'm okay.
definition of insanity right there, right?
Yeah, but now, like if you think big picture, how much different is it for you when business just comes to you? Like, I don't go hunting anymore. I hunt like from a like a e-myth way where I'm working on my business. Like I like plant seeds. That's how I hunt. I don't have to go out and buy internet leads and call people. People book time to call me because I'm the authority in the space. That's
Hell
way
yeah.
different, right?
And
And I
I almost
don't.
cried, Beau, when I first got my first realtor a couple of years ago called me and said, Tiff, I've been following you on social media. I have a loan for you, blah, blah, blah. I love your content. I literally almost cried because I attracted that business. She's in Nevada. She's not in my community. I don't see her at mixers. I don't connect with her. I never did a loan with her. And I was so happy. I cried because I was so happy that everything that I've been doing and the funnels and the limiting beliefs that I'm like, I don't know what's a funnel. I can't learn it. I'm scared. It's going to be too hard. I pushed through all that. And to get that first deal that I attracted and closed was like money. I mean, it was just a beautiful thing. And that's, I think, what people aren't realizing is like, you just have to start somewhere and write down your list. Cause I agree with you that some people are content, but I do think that it goes a lot deeper with the fear part that you mentioned. People procrastinate. I just saw Mel Robbins talk about it this morning on Instagram. People procrastinate because it equals stress. It's something they don't understand it. Tell you right now, learning is not scary. It's fun. Start telling yourself that if you're listening to this, because it's the only way you're going to push through and get with today's times. If you don't understand what like long tail keywords and this and that, and how to set up a podcast and what's Buzzsprout or whatever your platforms are, and how does Beau do meetup, you've got to write down like those out of all of this, maybe 3 things. Pick it and go all in on it and get over yourself, get over your fear of whatever it is that's stopping you, and don't be content because, yeah, you don't want to die being mediocre. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's my biggest fear in the world is to like, to look back and say, like, not be, to have that, like, you're sitting in your, you're 75 years old, you're laying in bed and you're like, what did I really do with my life? Right. Like, I worked and I grinded, but I never really got ahead. And like, I was just like this middle class person, which is cool. It's better than being poor, but, and I was like, content. And then I have these regrets when I get older. That's the scary part. Like I would say, like if you gotta just snap internally and say, listen, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get okay talking on podcasts, even if I say and but, because I still to this day, I say a lot of buts and ums, but what can I do? Right. So everything I do, I try to keep on like moving the needle, moving the needle. Maybe it's like doing a Toastmasters, or maybe it's like getting out of my comfort zone. I was just at a meetup the other day to do better content, to go shoot in a studio with better lighting. Like I am constantly thinking like, okay, what can I do? What can I do with my workouts? I was working out at the gym today. I was jumping rope, and this totally ripped dude that's like a jump rope master comes up and says, hey, try my jump rope, right? Like, and then we started talking. I'm like, well, what's your workout? And he's like, tell me what his workout is. I'm like, okay, that guy's super ripped. I want to look like that. And he's jumping rope in between each set. And he's using this jump rope. And he told me his workouts. He keeps his heart rate at 130, right? Like, so you get around these people that will up level you. He motivates me. I never even talked to the guy in 3 years till today. He came up to me. I'm like, dude's ripped. Everybody wants to look like this guy. And I work out every day, but I'm not getting those results. So it's who, not how, right? He just shared information with me. Like I probably should have talked to him earlier and be like, hey, I watch you in here. You're doing a great job. Can you like tell me what your workout is, right? Don't be afraid to ask people. People want to share their successes with you. That's important. So get around those people and don't have fear. Like we all have fear. I have a coach because I have limiting beliefs, right? And like if you don't have a coach, you need a coach, right? Like I was like, okay, like I was intimidated to pay X amount of dollars per hour session. I was like, that's a lot of money. Like, like I'm paying X amount, and that's like, well, I never thought I would, but it's like, it's totally worth it because you're getting somebody's experience to kind of look on you and help you work on stuff that you have problems with, that you're like, oh, I'm afraid to do this, I'm afraid of that. But once you start getting out there, when I started doing the meetups and I started talking in front of people, it's like, all right, I'm actually pretty good at this. And like, I have a lot of knowledge to share. I'm sure everybody out there has a good amount of knowledge that like they could really tell a story about. And that's the key. Is like, what do you have out there? What what experiences can you share with the world? And by sharing with the world and by helping these people like with whatever this is that you have, it's going to feed you, like it's going to give you more than you ever thought possible. It won't if you don't do it. And most people, you're right, are scared. They're like, I can't do it. I have one mortgage broker friend. His name is John. I'm not going to say his last name for embarrassment purposes, but for like the last 15 years, we've had the same conversation. I'm going to start doing marketing. I'm going to start doing marketing, right? And then, he had a couple good years because every mortgage broker was doing fairly well the last couple of years when rates were 2.75%. But the thing is with John, he'll never, because he's scared for some reason and content, he'll only have that good 2 years when the rates are low. Well, why couldn't he just like be a good marketer and like crush it every year? Instead of making like 300 grand during, good times, what if you were making 600 grand and then during bad times you're still making 450? And then you're taking that money and you're investing it because you're constantly educating yourself. You're investing in like cash flowing assets, you're buying real estate. You're becoming the message you're telling other people, right? Like
yeah.
I can walk the walk because I buy rental properties, I flip houses, I invest in different asset classes now. I invest in merchant cash advances, which are a risky class. I I didn't own any Bitcoin or anything. I didn't know nothing about it. I just opened a Coinbase account. I put $500 in a cryptocurrency, right? Because I don't know enough, and if I lose 500 bucks, that's okay. But I wanted to educate myself on the
That
blockchain because
works.
that's all coming. And if you don't adapt with AI and all this stuff as a loan officer, taking technology, pretty soon people are just going to go and just fill out online and not have to talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
You want to be the messenger that's like, hey, you're calling me because you're going to get navigated to the right way and get to the finish line. That's why they call me, because I'm the expert in that niche. You can easily be replaced if you don't have the skill set. Easily. And it's all
And
coming.
it is, I was just gonna say that. I took the words out of my mouth. It's all coming. I got top producer award for 2022, and the only way that I did it was because all that crazy stuff that I was learning the last, maybe 3, 4 years, going in a lot deeper and getting influencers and interviewing and starting my podcast, writing my book, and understanding funnels and call to actions and hooks and the right way to story tell and creating my authentic voice. What's my story? All these things that I know damn well. Some of my coworkers are like, what's she doing in her office now? What's going on? What's the selfie light for? What's the headphones or the microphone? All that stuff is what kept me in top position last year through all the market tough times. I didn't have the best year as I did the past years, but I still made it on top. The only way I did it was through all this innovative new stuff. That's not even new. It's just it's stuff that's starting to become more and more normal. And if you think going and sitting in an open house on a Sunday with a realtor, if you're a loan officer, is going to be what gets you the business, do you think that's collapsing time? Do you think that's what's going to generate the leads? Hell no. You got to get your voice out there, figure out what your authentic voice is in the first place, get it out there, figure out what the analytics look like, learn how to do retargeting and, reach ads and brand awareness and all these cool things that Facebook offers, and spend the money. Attention is currency. You have to spend the money to get eyes on your product. There's a reason, right? Why in Super Bowl commercials, they pay millions and million dollars to be on their brand, because as many eyes on their brand as possible, the better. You're not going to grow your business organically if you just say, apply today if you want a home loan. It's not going to work in today's world, right?
Put it this way, right now, I don't know, I have maybe 670 videos on YouTube. There's a handful of people watching my content right now, learning, and soon we'll be booking a call. And I'm not doing anything more for it. They're already done, right?
You're winning
That
before you arrive.
that little bit of time I spent is multiplying me, right? Everything you do needs to be a multiplying effect. Like when you get a certain deal, like it's a DSCR loan, right? You should have a quick link like email that goes to the client, like makes things so easy so I don't have to repeat what I'm doing. Because then you're more efficient and you can have better systems. And so that all plays into it. But right now there's 1,000 bows selling for me right now, 1,000 plus, right? Like, and anybody out there right there could be doing the same thing. So like I don't know, I would strongly encourage you to do that. And the last thing I wanted to add with something you said was that Carol Dweck, she wrote a book about growth mindset, about mindset.
I
And
have it.
there's people that have growth mindset. Like read that book, and hopefully you see where maybe some of you don't have that growth part. Try to work on that growth part, that growth mindset. And yesterday with my coach, I was like, I told him, I'm like, I'm on like a 90 percenter. I'm pretty good at stuff, but I never get to like the elite level, right? And so like that's a mindset thing. And like I'm like, hey, I can never be like an Alex Hormozy, having $200 million in revenue every year. I can't do it, right? But that's a mindset thing, right? Like I can do it. And so you got to like figure out these triggers in your life that will really help you. Like when you're having a bad day, right? Like when you have a bad day at work, because we're in sales, right? We lose a deal and we were counting on that $15,000 commission, whatever it is. And then we get kind of down. It's, man, I was worked on that. It's like instead of making that deal ruin the rest of your day, what's a trigger you can do to like kind of snap you back into that positive mindset, right? And so that I was working on that yesterday, right? So we're constantly working on these things because we want to improve. We want to be the best version of Beau, the best version of Tiffany that we can, both physically and business wise, right? And it all flows together. And the people I hang out with are all entrepreneurial because I'm entrepreneurial, right? The people I get along with, the people that I used to party with aren't the same people I'd like. I still like them and they're still my friends, but I spend more time now with the groups where I'm learning on the weekends. I'm going, hey, how do I become a better version of Beau? It's like, hey, go to this this boot camp, or take this online webinar. And most people, I don't know, for whatever reason, they don't want to do it. But I'm telling you, if you're watching this right now, you probably have that drive inside you. And you just need to like just everything you do is just move the needle forward every day. Meet with your marketing people, your team, like in like what can you look at? What can you be doing? How can you position yourself as the authority in whatever niche you are? And that is going to propel your business.
And well said. And don't be afraid to learn new things, because you kind of got to dabble at it and figure it out. But then whatever you know, when you pick your niche, something that you're really intensely passionate about, the rest of the stuff, hire it out. There's virtual assistants that instead of buying the $5 Starbucks in the morning, you take that money and you pay a virtual assistant to do the work that you absolutely know is not collapsing time and bettering you. So you got to kind of learn it all at first. You do need to understand what funnels are and how they conversion rates and opt-in pages and all that. Yes. But once you kind of, at least just like what you said with Bitcoin, you just wanted to kind of understand it a little bit. Then once you get a grip on it, hire it out. Hire slow, fire fast, and go for what your passion is. My conversations now are so changing. It's so fun. Now I talk to people at like mixers or parties or whatever about conversions and, oh my gosh, so what are you doing with this? And how are you doing this on your social media? It's so fun to talk about. I no longer want to gossip about other people and get wasted and be hungover and blow off the day the next day. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a few drinks and I'm going home, because in the morning I want to do X, Y, and Z. And learning is a game now to me. It's so fun. So just figuring out how to, like, don't be scared of the stuff that you don't know, because you can always pay someone. It's a huge world that's gotten very small with the digital technology.
Exactly. Yeah. Everything's at your fingertips now.
Yeah.
And I just look at my end, like my vision in my head is like my business is flowing. I can bring my laptop to Mexico. I just bought a nice little house overlooking the beach in Mexico. I wear flip flops and shorts all day. And then, when I want to meet with clients, I meet over Zoom. I solve big problems. I get paid very well, and I can still like enjoy kind of a slow pace. And I come back to my house in Vegas, hang out and go to the fights and do that. So, so think about that end vision and think about like, hey, I'm at this point in my life. I'm 45 or whatever you are, and like, okay, by 55, this is, and then you vision board it, right? Then you have the vision board of like the beach house in Mexico, the life you're living, like you're getting away from like having that. We in the real estate world, we live with that kind of stress in the bottom of our gut because we're like so dependent on deals closing. But what if you had so many deals that were going on and you started putting the right junior loan officers in, and you started kind of working yourself outside of the business? So now you're working on it instead of in it, and that's where we're going to evolve to. Because then you're not in the trenches. Like for 20 years, I've been in the trenches, and it's like no, all the other real smart people are up here, and they're like we're their little puppets. So you want to get up there and work on the business. That's how
Yeah.
you become really successful.
Hell yeah. And gosh, you took the word. I love you, Beau. You're just freaking genius. But leads solve problems. So if you get leads, if you do X, Y, and Z, that stress and that pressure, first of all, you're going to learn all these fun things. It really is fun to learn all this stuff and get with the times, but you're going to generate business. You don't have to feel like you're in that hamster wheel, that rat race where you're just like, oh my God, if I lose this deal, that's going to be $7,000. I won't be able to do X, Y, and Z or pay this bill. I'm done with that. I want to teach. I'm changing the industry in the loan originators. I want them to be empowered and stop thinking of ourselves as workers or managers. We're marketers, educators, and innovators. That's the people that make the millions. Managers, workers, you're never going to get to the millions, and you're never going to be able to impact the millions if you don't level up your community, your masterminds. You get a coach, invest on yourself. My coach, Krista Mayshore, she paid Dean Graziazzi 25 grand for 4 hours. She had to go fly to him 4 hours for 25 grand. And they just know how to roll. There's no idle chat. There's no gossiping time. It's go all in and invest in yourself and make sure you're coached up. Have no fear, be resourceful, and be bold. No one gives a crap, because if you're at the bottom, they ignore you. And if you're at the top, they hate on you. So just be you and make money, right?
I love it.
I'll
I
end
love
on
it.
that note. Sounds
I
so
dig you.
easy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Beau. You're awesome as always. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody.